Teresa, could you move the district camera up slightly?
Yes, it can.
Yes, it was focused on my hat.
Yeah.
No wonder it was such a comment.
A little higher. There.
There.
There we go.
Okay, we're recording. I'm going to go ahead and start and call our meeting to order. The first thing will be the roll call. Manager Waller.
Yes, I'm present.
Manager Winan.
Here.
Manager Bradley. Manager Bradley. You here?
Yes. He's showing
Okay.
here.
Manager Bigman
Here.
and Manager Priner, yes. Okay, we'll set the agenda. Any additions or changes to the agenda today?
President Priner, staff do have a change to the consent agenda. I believe Patrick will speak to it.
Yes, I can do that now. President Priner, Board of Managers, we're intending to remove permit application 21-004 from the consent agenda today. The proposed project has some connections to Lexington Avenue, just north of the district office, and we're still awaiting confirmation from the county that those connections are acceptable with the rates and everything.
Okay. Okay, anything else? If not, I'll entertain a okay. That's the only changes. Then we'll need a motion to approve the agenda with additions.
Madam President, I move to approve agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Manager Waller?
Yes.
Manager Winant?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wageman?
Yes.
And Manager Priner, yes, motion approved. Approval of the minutes?
Madam President,
Chair,
I'd like to make one change. Maybe we do that before we do the motion, or do you want to do motion?
We should do a motion, a second, and then,
Okay.
okay. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the minutes of the Water Management Board of February 24th, 2000.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second. Discussion?
Madam President, I'd like to make changes to a sentence that's on page 11, lines 285 through 287. On 285, I'd strike the word because. On 286, after the word forward, I would add the words making this. And I would strike the words.
Oh, after forward?
After forward, add the words making this. Then after project strike would not have been approved as being. So it would read, Michael Bradley, which he opposed, and also that the transfer provides for lower cost maintenance to the district going forward, making this project in the public interest. Original had like a double negative in there. Kind of.
Okay. So we have.
Yeah.
Would you read that again, please?
Certainly. I'll start with a full line 285. District paid 10 years of repairs for RCD 4 lateral 1, which he opposed, and also the transfer provides for lower cost maintenance to district going forward, making this project in the public interest.
So the words would not have been approved are being eliminated.
That's correct.
Okay. So we have a motion, and a second, and now we have a correction. So we want to go back to the motion maker, accept the amendment or accept the change.
Yes, I will accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
And my second also is amended to reflect that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Manager Waller?
Yes.
Manager Winan?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wageman?
Yes.
And Manager Priner, yes. Okay, so the next motion. That was it for the whole approval of the minutes. Okay. Next thing we'll do is recess our regular meeting to go to our public hearing. And we'll go ahead. The regular board meeting is now recessed, and the public hearing is open on the Rice Creek Watershed District's proposed ordering of the Moore Lake Enhancement Project. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D021, meetings of the Board of Managers are currently being convened remotely by video teleconference in accordance with state law. Notice of the hearing was published for 2 successive weeks in the St. Paul Pioneer Press and mailed to all cities within the Watershed District, as well as the district's 4 counties. The notice provided instructions on how to participate in today's hearing. I ask that those of you in attendance remotely mute your microphone until it's your turn to speak. The purpose of this hearing is to receive comments from the public on the project proposed to be constructed in partnership with the city of Fridley. Before the Watershed District can provide funds for this capital improvement, state law requires that the Board of Managers hold a public hearing, receive public comments, and make a judgment that the project is a sound and cost-effective project to help fulfill our water resource plan goals. First, I would like to ask Kyle Axtell, District Project Manager, to give a brief presentation on the proposed project. When his remarks are completed, the floor will be open to any members of the public who wish to address the board. At that time, if a member of the public wishes to comment, please ask to be recognized and address the board when I recognize you. Speak clearly, state your name and address for the record. If you have written copy of your statement or any other documents that you'd like to submit, please inform the board. District staff will provide direction on how to submit materials for the record. During public comment, managers are welcome to ask questions of the commenters to clarify the remarks. I also ask that Mr. Axtell to respond to any technical questions raised. Managers will hold their own comments about the project until the public hearing is closed. At that time, the board will have the opportunity to discuss the project. Kyle, would you like to proceed?
Yes, thank you, President Preiner. Can everybody hear me and see the presentation on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we'll begin with a public hearing on the Moore Lake Enhancement Project. Just a quick background of the study history of Moore Lake. In 2002, Moore Lake, which is kind of located in the kind of southwest portion of the district within the city of Fridley, was listed as impaired for excess phosphorus due to extreme algae blooms and such. Moving forward in time, in 2009, Moore Lake was included in the Watershed District's Southwest Urban Lake Study, which took a look at some modeling and kind of cursory look at possible BMPs that could be implemented within the subwatershed of the lake to improve water quality. In 2013, the Watershed District worked with the Anoka Conservation District to complete a stormwater retrofit analysis for Moore Lake, which kind of took a closer look and more detailed look at the types of BMPs that could be installed, where they'd be located, and provided a little additional detail there. In 2015, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency expanded upon our Southwest Urban Lake study and converted some areas of that study into a formal TMDL, total maximum daily load. East Moore Lake, which is impaired, was included in that TMDL. So that kind of formalized some of the regulatory requirements to improve water quality for East Moore Lake. And as has been noted by the city of Fridley in previous discussions, the public beach at Moore Lake Park has been closed for a little while now due to high E. coli counts as well. Lower Rice Creek was part of the PCA's Upper Mississippi River Bacteria TMDL that was approved recently, and Moore Lake, of course, discharges to Lower Rice Creek. So E. coli counts are also a concern in this area. These figures are from the 2013 stormwater retrofit assessment that we completed with the Anoka Conservation District, just giving you a little bit of a breakdown of the land that actually drains to Moore Lake on the left-hand side there. And on the right-hand side, specific to the project that's being considered now, this is a catchment we call ML5 that would drain through the project site into East Moore Lake. You can see here the project location is within this red circle here generally, And all of the storm sewer in this 94-acre area all drains through this location to the lake. The project itself is kind of a combination of an iron enhanced sand and biochar filter. Original proposals for this area, you can see there's a large channel that all that storm sewer discharges through to the lake here. Back to 2009 and 2013 in those studies, there was a concept established for a large stormwater pond, kind of a pretreatment pond in this location. And some of those concepts were developed prior to the advent of some of these iron enhanced sand and biochar filters that we've been seeing installed around the district more recently. And maybe in this case, waiting to build a project here has benefited in that we have newer technology and different project types that we can look at. So the concept here would be to install some sort of an in-channel diversion structure, which would then transfer flows, storm flows coming through this channel into a surface filter system here, which again, the iron enhanced sand component, which is something we're a little more familiar with here in the district, is really great at removing dissolved phosphorus from runoff, stormwater runoff. The biochar component is a media that's really good at removing the bacterial component. So hoping to reduce those E. coli counts in East Moore Lake as well. It's a large filter concept here, and I've got a cross section, a concept profile that the city has put together, along with a large, kind of a reestablishing a native pollinator buffer along this area of the park. I will note that, again, this project has kind of become ripe now with the city moving forward on its master planning process for Moore Lake Park. And again, I think the idea that we've waited several years now to develop a concept here has really improved the outcome of the project that's going to be built. Further about the project benefits and cost allocation. Again, this is a project that's proposed and led by the city of Fridley. The Rice Creek Watershed District would be a funding partner. Pollutant reduction estimates are by the city are estimated at 18 pounds of phosphorus annually and 1,200 pounds of sediment. And again, that biochar filter is also expected to significantly reduce the bacterial loading to the lake. The total project cost is estimated at between $500,000 and $600,000. The city was fortunate and successful to receive a Clean Water Fund grant from Bowser in the amount of $400,000. And the proposal for the remainder of the local match is that the city and Watershed District would split that 50-50 with Rice Creek's share not to exceed $100,000. And those funds would come from our 60-03 budget line, which is for the Lower Rice Creek Water Management Project. We're holding the public hearing today, and provided there are no objections or concerns with the project, board action on a cost share or grant agreement with the city would be scheduled for March 24th, 2 weeks from today during your regular meeting. With that, I would open for any public comment and any questions from the board.
Thank you, Kyle. First, any questions from the board for Kyle? Questions?
Yeah, Madam President, thank you. Kyle, I'm just wondering about the biochar. It's kind of new to us. I'm not that familiar. Have they been around quite a while in other areas, or are they fair? Is that a new real technology or something, or what? And another thing is, how long does it last compared to the iron enhanced part of the system?
Sure. Madam President, Manager Wagaman, I would say the biochar filters are probably, in terms of age of technology, similar to the iron enhanced sand. They've been, there have been some trial runs that go back many years, similar to the iron enhanced sand. Within our watershed, we've been seeing the iron enhanced sand more frequently used, as phosphorus is generally the key pollutant we're trying to get at. Mm-hmm. We do have some areas where, again, as I mentioned, with the Lower Rice Creek being added to that Upper Mississippi Bacteria TMDL. We do have some bodies of water that are subject to high E. coli counts, Eastmore Lake being one of them. And so I think we'll see these more. Other areas of the metro and areas outstate, I think that we've seen more of these pop up in maybe the last 5 years or so, but it is relatively new technology. As far as the life expectancy, I don't have a good beat on, and I might ask Rachel Workin from the city of Fridley to respond to that. She is in attendance here, I believe. But the iron enhanced sand component is certainly I would say maybe the more expensive media than the biochar, and those are typically designed for a 20 to 25 year lifespan. I don't think if the biochar were to run out a little earlier than that, I don't think you would short cycle the filter media replacement just on account of the biochar. If it was me managing the project, is because the iron enhanced sand component is so more expensive. So, but Rachel, if you have anything to add, I'd welcome that. If you have any thoughts on the life expectancy for the project.
Let's go to the open portion of our meeting, and then Rachel, if she could answer.
Okay.
Okay. So we will go to the audience. Anybody in the audience that'd like to respond or comment?
Madam President, Rachel Workin, environmental planner with the City of Fridley, with a comment. We just wanted to say that this project has been a long-term goal for the City of Fridley and the Watershed District. It will go a long way in fulfilling the TMDL requirement for Moore Lake, and we look forward to this being a significant portion of the project to revitalize Moore Lake. We appreciate the district's support of the project and look forward to working with district staff on achieving our shared goals for the area. Also, I would like to respond to Commissioner Wagaman's question. There are 2 locations in the City of Fridley where we have biochar. One is being very carefully monitored for efficacy. We haven't seen either of these projects come to the end of their useful life or have reduced efficiency yet. Since this technology is pretty new, it's something we're still keeping our eye on. But similarly with this project, we will be doing post-construction monitoring and looking at the effectiveness of the biochar, and we'll budget within our stormwater operations fund to replace the biochar when needed. As part of the Clean Water Fund grant, the useful life of the project must be at least 25 years. And that is a cost that the city will assume as the grant recipient.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else in the audience that'd like to comment today? Anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, if there isn't anybody else who wishes to speak, there being no further testimony from the public, I close the public hearing and open the matter for board discussion and action. Okay, it's closed and we will go to our regular meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay, the next thing is our consent agenda. Any questions on that?
Madam President, I have 2 questions I'd like to ask.
Certainly.
The first one is on 20-113, City of Columbus. So this is, once again, Mike Bradley asking to be educated. This appears to be a linear project. I was of the impression that linear projects were exempt, and clearly I'm mistaken, so help me.
Yeah, Manager Bradley, can you clarify a little bit further on what do you mean by exempt?
Well, we amended our rules, and this is where I need help. We amended our rules to make linear projects exemption from something. So.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the definition of a linear project, Patrick?
Well, I can pull that up specifically. So for clarification here first, so this project for the Hornsby Street reconstruction, it was submitted prior to the rule change. So it is reviewed under that last set of rules, the 2016 rule set. The rule revision for public linear projects, the 2016 rule only looked at new impervious surface, and now we are looking at new impervious surface, but also reconstruction. So if this project were to be submitted in this year under this current rule set, they still would need to consider reconstruction for their water quality treatment portion. What also changed there is that our trigger point went from 10,000 square feet to an acre.
Thank you. My second question is on 21-012. And if you could take a look at the map, which is on page 48 of our packet, it shows the project outfall 2 blocks away from where it goes. And I'm just curious how that water gets from that outfall to the lake or pond or wherever it's going. And have we changed anything there?
And that's for the permit application number 21-012, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. So for that, the map that is shown there is something that's created from Houston Engineering. It is a generalization, of what the project actually looks like. I can pull up a plan sheet here as well. So there is a storm sewer connection that does go into Salo Pond. It is a regional stormwater BMP.
So the answer to my question is there's a stormwater system there somewhere.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for that is on page 27 for our consent agenda.
Madam President, I move that we conditionally approve pending receipt of changes, permit request 20-113 and 21-012 in accordance with the engineer's findings and recommendations as contained in the engineer's report dated March 3, 2021.
Okay.
Madam President, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Do a roll call. Manager Waller?
Yes.
Manager Winan?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wageman? Manager Wageman?
You're mute.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay, and Manager Pryor, yes. Motion proceeds. Okay, Lauren Grant's here.
Good morning, President Priner, Board of Managers. Project season is already starting for the Water Quality Grant Program. For your consideration today are 5 Water Quality Grant Program applications. On the consent agenda, on page 49 in your packets, I and Brian Olson with Ramsey County SWCD are available for any questions.
Okay. Any questions on any of the grants that are proposed? Seeing none, we'll need a motion.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Lauren, just to clarify, were these reviewed by the Citizens Advisory Committee?
Yes, President Priner, Manager Winan, they were reviewed by the CAC on March 3rd, I believe.
That's correct. I was there. Okay, page 49 has our motion.
Well, I would move approval of the water quality grant consent agenda as outlined in the table on the second page of the agenda, in accordance with the Race Creek Watershed staff's recommendation based on established program guidelines dated March 4th, 2021.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go for the vote. Manager Waller?
Yes.
Manager Winan?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wageman?
Yes.
And Manager Pryor, yes, motion passes. Okay,
Thank you.
Brian?
And thanks for the
Good job.
great job from Ramsey County. What are you called now? Conservation District?
He's gone.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're the Ramsey County Soil and Water Conservation Division
Division.
Ramsey County.
within the
Soil-
Parks and Rec Department. So it's a long name, but SWCD still works good. So.
All right, and you're still in Arden Hills. You haven't changed locations.
Yeah. No,
Right.
we are in Maplewood now at the Parks office for Ramsey County. So.
Oh, really? The entire office?
Yep. Our whole office moved over there. So. We're a small office. There's only, I think there's 9 of us. So.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when things open up, we'll find our way over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is open mic. Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to comment on anything today? It's open mic for the audience. Please state your name and address if you'd like to. No open mic today or public comments, so we'll go to items requiring board action. Matt?
Resident Priner, members of the board, thanks for having me. Beginning on page 133 of your packet, there are materials for a professional services agreement with CARP Solutions. I believe this is our 5th contract with CARP Solutions, so I think you're somewhat familiar with these by now, and certainly you're familiar with the work that we've been doing the past few years in our CARP program. CARP Solutions provides the majority of the labor and services for removal of adult carp. So that's really what this contract is about. A couple of the other highlights, they help us maintain some of our tracking systems. So we have passive integrated transponder systems or pit tag systems that we use to track migrating carp. They help us maintain those. Also, they're helping us maintain the existing fish trap that we use to remove the fish. And then all of the labor associated with that. I think you've heard from the past presentation that our carp population in the Long Lake Lino chain of lakes is substantial, and therefore our goals for removal are substantial, and that is reflected in the amount of labor in this contract. I'll note that the CARP Solutions labor rates remains unchanged from 2020, and it is competitive. I think my final note is that this cost was anticipated, and it is part of the approved 2021 budget, so this is not an increase of any kind. This is part of a budgeted program. There is a motion at the bottom of page 133, and Jenna from CARP Solutions is also here, I believe, on the line, if there are any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Jenna?
Madam President, I have just unrelated to the contract here, which I'm obviously in favor of. Did we have commercial harvesting or harvesting this winter on Long Lake?
President Priner, Manager Bradley, not that I'm aware of. I don't believe so. And certainly not that we were involved in.
Okay.
President Priner?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. To Manager Bradley's question, or along those lines, when Matt and I were discussing, the estimate is 65,000 pounds of carp that have been removed from the system. That's, as you might imagine, a lot of fish. That's, what is that, 32 tons of carp. So I think the program is certainly showing progress and success under Matt's and the board's leadership.
Madam President?
Yes.
I think it's important to point out that that's an impressive figure. Thank you very much, Nick, and Matt's done a great job on this. Yeah, but let's not lose the focus that when we remove all these carp, the advantage to this is to make sure that the phosphorus doesn't get dug up off the bottom of the lakes. And this is a tremendous cost savings compared to some other phosphorus control programs that we have. And oftentimes we just think this is removing the carp because they're a terrible nuisance, and not a pretty game fish. But there is an actual water quality benefit to this in the reduction of phosphorus in our lakes. And that's, to me, it's a very inexpensive means to help improve the water quality by lessening the amount of phosphorus that goes on. And so when you put out a figure like how many tons of fish came out, someday I wish there would be some way we could figure out what tons of fish does in relation to pounds of phosphorus removal. I don't know how to do that. Maybe it's not possible to do it at this time technically, but that's what we're really doing, and we should keep that in mind. So thank you, gentlemen, for a great program.
Madam President, to piggyback on what Manager Waller just said, I recall, I think, a aerial photograph of one of our lakes before and after and the impact on the water quality is quite dramatic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Matt, do I recall that you were not able to do any of this last year because of COVID?
Yeah, President Priner, Manager Winan, we did some of these activities last year. I would say that we were we weren't as able to do as much work with the barrier and that removal system as we would have liked. This year we're well positioned. I think despite COVID, we've made arrangements and other plans to have that system operating at 100% this year. Some of the other activities, like the box netting and tracking of the fish, we were able to do at 100% last year, and those activities would continue this year.
Okay, but there's a relationship with a company in another country, and they weren't able to travel here. So
Correct.
how does that work?
Yep, the relationship is with Procom, based in Poland. That was a separate contract that we reviewed, I think about a month ago, or maybe a month and a half ago at a board meeting. It was, at the time of the approval of that contract, it was unknown whether or not their representatives would be able to travel to the United States this spring to help support that work. We've since found out that they will be able to travel, and they're making arrangements to do that. Even if they would not have been able to, we had backup plans in case of that. But
Good, I'm glad they can come. Yeah. Okay, we have a motion on page 133 at the bottom.
Madam President, I move to authorize the administrator on advice of council to enter into a professional services agreement with TARP Solutions LLC for an amount not to exceed $80,260. The administrator is also authorized to approve contract amendments for additional work not to exceed 10% of the contract cost, which is $8,026.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Manager Waller?
Yes.
Manager Winan?
Yes.
Manager Wageman?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
And Manager Priner. Just checking if you guys are awake.
Yeah, you threw me for a minute.
Good catch. So we're next, number 2, Nick.
Yes, President Priner, Board of Managers. Next on the agenda is Houston Engineering Task Order 2104, which has to do with the district-wide modeling program and our annual efforts to update that, or have Houston update the model. As you know, the district-wide model is foundational in the district's work. Annually, we have any number of changes that are available to us in better understanding the Watershed District. That comes to us through discovery, through our regulatory program and other matters. And so we need to bring that into the model and go from there. This task order totals $35,700. And I would look for the board to authorize, approve the task order and authorize the board president to sign it.
Okay. I don't see that motion in here, so I'll just have to ask for the motion, please.
Yeah, I can share screen. I have a.
That's okay.
If that's helpful.
There you go.
So Madam President, this is Manager Winan again. Just to kind of connect the dots. Now this is the district model, and we saw a presentation by the Green Corps member about another district system. This is the model informs the program that we had discussed prior.
President Priner, Manager Winan, yes, you're referring to MS Forefront, which is a database, and that is what Ben, our Green Corps member, was speaking to. These are separate items, both softwares, if you will, are ways to gather and draw off information. So the database that Ben spoke about, MS Forefront, that is going to replace what we call our regulatory database, which is also used for our cost share programs. It is a method by which we'll be able to have some efficiency in our reporting to the state for our MS4 permit. It also allows us efficiency in accessing these files, knowing where they are, interfaces with GIS layers so we can visualize the data and keep track of these things and have good communication with those entities that are responsible for them. This here is the district-wide model. Some of the information in the database may be important depending on its significance. The model is district-wide, so it's a very large, help me, Chris, what's the word? Engineering model. So it's at a coarser, more regional level for these types of computations, but it does allow our partners or landowners and developers to draw off small sections, if you will, bites of the model, and use that as foundational in the work they're trying to achieve. And then with that, it's a feedback loop, and it improves our model as well.
Right. So and then this is the model that's available to our communities, our cities.
Yes, and this model also is the same model that informed our work and was advanced for the FEMA grant and determining our floodplain elevations and such. Yep.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I can just add a little bit more to that. So, the district invested in this model. And again, when we call it a district-wide model, it's actually, physically several different models that go into this, but they all basically provide a function of determining if you have a certain amount of rainfall that occurs in the district, where does the water go and how high does the water get? And again, the district invested in this from 2009 to 2011, and every year the district has been continuing to update the model as different activities occur in the district, and we get different understandings of where water goes in the district, because we do survey as part of our projects or as part of other activities that goes into this. We also have projects that the district is doing. So one thing you may note, we list this out in the task order, that there's, I think, about 3 or 4 different district projects that occurred last year that will all be now added into the model so that it reflects the work the district has done, reflects the work that applicants have done, other petitions, like when we've had petitions to realign the system, that gets in here. And then we're also doing an update of one of the particular models to get it to more of a current and usable format, not only usable for the district and staff, but also to make it usable for the city, as this is all an area that is rapidly developing and going to be useful for those purposes in the future. So,
Madam President?
Yes.
So I'll move approval of task order 2021-4, the district-wide modeling program, annual updates, and authorize the board president to sign Houston Engineering Incorporated task order 2021-4.
Madam President, Mr. Manager Waller, it might be a good idea just to include in that motion with a budget of $35,700.
Make it so.
Make it so. Thank you.
And a second on that?
Are you the second on that?
I'll second that. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call.
So, Madam President, I just want to point out that this is, as the staff and engineer pointed out, it really is the map of the logistical system and how the logistics of the stormwater conveyance system functions. And it is the backbone of the district stormwater conveyance program. So we started this many years ago, Madam President. As you remember, it's First, I think we started that the first year you were on the board. And so it's been a very important program. And we want to make sure that we know how much water's in the system and how it works and where it goes up and down. And as Chris said, there's a lot of components, and as Nick said, it's the backbone of the stormwater conveyance system logistics. Thank you.
This was one of the best projects, I believe, that we ever started. So, yes. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Manager Waller.
Yes.
Manager Winant.
Yes.
Manager Bradley.
Yes.
Manager Wagaman.
Yes.
And Manager Priner, yes. Motion passes. Ramsey County Ditch 8. Nick?
Yes, President Priner, Board of Managers. This here is another task order with Houston Engineering. This regarding Ramsey County Ditch 8, obviously a ditch in your public drainage system. This year is for the historical review. It's the basis by which we confirm what those good folks intended years ago and make sure the record is correct. This is the technical side. From there, we move into the statutory process to get this on the record as the official representation, if you will, of the ditch system. This task order totals, bear with me, $32,250.
34.
I'm sorry?
34,000.
34,000?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay. And on page 160, it says 32.
On 165, it says 34,000.
That's, I think that's the next one.
That's the next review, I think.
That's the next ditch, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
So what was that? 32, right?
$32,250.
Okay, we'll need a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move approval of this task order.
Task order number 2021-007. Okay, a second?
Again, I'll second that, but again, I would like to include in an amount of $32,250.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll include that.
And then I have some questions about this one.
Okay. So we have a motion second. Discussion, please.
So please bear with me as I figure out how this all works. Did someone petition to have this looked at, or is this part of our comp plan? How did this come before us?
Yes. President Priner, Manager Winant, the district's public drainage system program, as you know, has a long history, and it's been working systematically with those systems that have the greatest greatest attention from landowners, also the least amount of efficiency, if you will, or effectiveness in draining the landscape. So we wanted to prioritize our obligation. This system, again, this is the foundational work to know exactly legally where the system exists and what it is intended to accomplish, and based on what we have in the record, what is recorded, as well as what quite old as-built documents we have and such, and also what information can be pulled out of the landscape by soil borings, culvert elevations, and those sort of things. As we were reflecting on Anoka County Ditch 102232, I think we saw the importance of having the ASIC, as constructed, subsequently approved condition identified. That is kind of a nuanced term, if you will, of this process, and it informs what the repair would look like. This is also important. We discussed some of the bills regarding public waters and the way the DNR viewed these types of things. So it's really a foundational step. Back a little bit more to your question about why these now. We had budgeted to try and bring the final ditch systems across the finish line, if you will, to have this fundamental information in place. This ditch system, Ramsey County Ditch 8, we did have some concerned landowners, I would say, on the upper reaches of it, where a developer excavated a quote unquote lake on the ditch system. And this information is foundational to know what role, if any, the district played in that and how our responsibilities may or may not collide with those interests. So it seemed ripe, and in discussions with Houston Engineering, both this task order and the next one on the agenda were part of our budgeting deliberation.
I like that answer because I've heard concerns about this both from the city and landowners. So good, and I'm assuming that it contains its main stem as well as the branches, and this is a complicated system. So we look forward to finding out what really is going on.
Very good.
Madam President, is this the ditch that runs behind Manager Wynant's house?
No. No.
Okay, which ditch is, roughly where is this one?
This is north of, it's along County Road J, if I remember right. I mean, if that's the right 34. It's in a developed place where there, oh, thank you. This square lake, where is that? I mean, oh, right up there. Yeah, the developer made a little lake in the backyard.
Evergreen Ponds is the development board that's being referenced.
And the city doesn't claim it, and we didn't quite know, and there's.
Yes.
Very complicated.
Yeah, President Preiner, Board of Managers. So Evergreen Ponds, Chris, if you could put your cursor and maybe circle that area a little bit, yeah, right, the squareness, if you will. So the excavation was next to the road there and kind of squared off for the development the developer was making. The excavation, my assessment would be an aesthetic feature dug for the sale and purpose of the development. My understanding is that the city sees it as a stormwater detention or pond. And at the time it was done, it was pre a lot of the current regulations that we have for stormwater treatment and such. And with that, so our ditch system has been incorporated in it, if you will. Chris, you took me around the world. I hope I've answered the question or the board had. Yes.
Thank you.
No, so no, it's not mine, Mike. And the ditch is running well today, so it's serving its purpose.
It's a good thing.
So Madam President?
Yes.
So we have the motion on the floor. Does that include your authority to sign the document?
Oh.
Sure. We got the amount. Did we get to give authority to both motion makers agree to that? You're authorized to sign the document once we authorize the money?
You bet.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's how it's going to be worded. Marcy, do you just want to?
Sure, let me say this again. I move to approve and authorize the board president to sign Houston Engineering Task Order 2021-7 Ramsey County Ditch 8 Historical Review for the amount of $32,250.
And I will again second that.
And we'll have a second. And further discussion? We'll call for the vote. Manager Wallace?
Yes.
Wynant?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wageman?
Yes.
Manager Wageman? And Manager Preiner, yes, motion passes. All right. Nick, ditch
Yes.
25.
President Reiner, Board of Managers, now on page 164 of your packet, is another task order with Houston Engineering. This is for Anoka County Ditch 25. Similar to the last agenda item, this is for a historical review of the technical information of the public drainage system and move into the proceedings. This ditch system is located on the southwest side of Centerville Lake. As I said, the historical review is foundational. Here, again, we're just trying to move all the systems across the finish line. One, we know, I'm sure Manager Waller has periodically, or I should say, as Manager Waller periodically has stated, how do you know how deep to dig and clean the ditch if you don't know the profile of the system? So this is part of establishing that clarity in the record. And it is also, you'll recall, we did receive our Clear Water Fund grant for Centerville Lake, where we are doing some study of that. And you can see on the map that Chris has brought up the orange private drainage system that flows into Anoka County Ditch 25. So it is involved in how Centerville Lake outlets. We believe that may be important as our consideration of projects moves forward, and it would be important to have this foundational information in hand. This task order is for $34,350, and I will share my screen with a proposed motion. I'd ask that you include the dollar amount if you're wishing to make the motion.
Madam President, I'll move we approve and authorize the president to sign Houston Engineering Incorporated Task Order 2021-8, Anoka County Ditch 25, historical review for an amount not to exceed $34,300.
350.
350, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mike.
A
Thank
second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Any further discussion?
Madam President?
Go ahead.
One thing I'll note here is that on this particular historic review and likewise with the previous one for RCD8 that you already approved, we do include time in there for having discussions with DNR related to the historic reviews. And that's an important component of the work because in both of these systems, they each have 4 different public waters that the system goes through. So certainly there's going to be a fair amount of coordination necessary with DNR to both understand the DNR's regulatory involvement with respect to the system and because they likely will have a substantial interest in a records correction proceeding that would follow the development of the report on this. So again, it's always better to get ahead of that discussion with them so that they're of a common understanding of where we're at and why we're making the recommendations we are with respect to where the original system is.
Thank you for that.
So, Madam President, we had a second. Did I missed that? I'm sorry.
No.
No second yet?
Oh, no.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
then,
yeah,
Madam President, Chris, does Centerville Lake flow into 25 and 25 flow all the way to Rationale? Is that, or I thought it was the other way around?
Madam President, Manager Waller, actually that private line that we have shown, that's a remnant channel that was there originally. As I understand it, ACD 25 outletted into Centerville originally, and then they plumbed it to go into Rationale. The primary outlet for Centerville is Peltier Lake, but there is the ability for Centerville to overflow if it does get too high and go back into Rationale. And so that's where that channel comes in. And as Nick alluded to, there may be a potential to envision a project that may be able to help with water quality that could be able to utilize that original alignment. But again, one of the important things is to understand that history of the system there and the alignments so that, you know, we have a clear and well-defined record of where the system is currently and what that, you know, remnant part of the ditch, what its standing is with respect to 103E.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I agree. You have to know, as Nick said, how deep the ditch is to dig it, or you have to know what to do. Before you can do anything with it, you've got to have the records.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Manager Waller?
Yes, I vote yes.
Manager Wynan?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wagaman?
Yes.
And Manager Priner, yes, motion passes. Okay, Nick, Lametti. Yeah, Lametti and Sons.
Yes. Board of Managers on page 170 of your packet starts the agenda item. This is a partial contractor payment request from Lametti and Sons. It's the fifth pay request. This is on our large Anoka, Washington Judicial Ditch 3 repair project. This payment request is for $37,163.28. Houston Engineering has reviewed and has been keeping diligent record of the tasks that are being accomplished on the site. And it is consistent with the contract award and then those adjustments noted in the memo. There is a proposed motion at the bottom of page 170.
Madam President, can I ask a question? I can do the motion first, but
Let's do the motion second.
Yep.
Madam President, I'll move to approve the partial payment at number 5 to Lametti and Sons Incorporated for Anoka County, Washington County, ditch number 3, AWJD3, main trunk and branch 3 repair in the amount of $37,163.28.
I'll second that.
We have a second and discussion.
Madam President, Nick, on page 170, and it's probably just a typo, it says the project cost increased to $689,703. Everywhere else, and including the calculation, the amount we owe the contractor is based on the $698,395.50. So I'm trying to figure out where the 689,703 comes from, or whether or not one of those is wrong, it seems to me.
Okay.
President Priner, Manager Bradley, and it sounded like Chris was going to answer in, so I appreciate that, Chris. I found that confusing as well, but here's kind of how it works. The board entered into the contract amount. That did include a contingency, and we did have 3 change orders, so forecasting the need for change, if you will. But then we had a number of that, and those increased the contract amount. And then the contingency was applied to a few field orders. And that is when the contractor, while undertaking the work, may find efficiency on the site, or there's, geez, we just need whatever it is, 6 more feet of culvert in order to make these side slopes work. And that question from the contractor goes to their field staff, Spencer, and then it is relayed back to the office with Mr. Otterness and Mr. Munson, and it is confirmed with Rice Creek. And so these field orders are what have increased the differential between the board's approved amount, and we're exercising the contingency, which I believe was 5 or 10% on the project for the field orders. Is that helpful?
I accept that explanation. The only thing I'll push back momentarily on is the fact that it was increased $9,000 to $683.50 as a result of 3 change orders, so that we have change orders plus field order changes, as I understand it.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I want.
Madam President,
Go ahead.
Chris, I noticed the other day there's a hole out there. So it looked like they'd already started to finish up some things they hadn't finished last year this spring. That's just to call your attention to it. That's all.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Manager Waller?
Yes.
Manager Winans?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wageman?
Yeah.
And Manager Priner, yes, motion passes. Check register?
Madam President, I move to approve the check register dated March 10th, 2021 in the amount of $49,830.72 prepared by Redpath and Company.
I'll
I'll
second that.
second that.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds. Any further discussion? Manager Waller?
Yes.
Manager Winan?
Yes.
Manager Bradley?
Yes.
Manager Wageman?
Yes.
And Manager Priner, yes, motion passes. Items for discussion, District Engineer, anything for Chris, or Chris, any updates for us?
Madam President, I don't have anything to note, but certainly can address any questions.
Any questions for Chris? Now we'll go to the administrator updates. Nick?
President Priner, I have no updates specifically, but I will note the mod virtual legislative item on March 17th at 1 p.m. and then later in that agenda at 3 p.m. again is hopefully when we'll see a few of our representatives present to engage us on our projects.
Thank you. Any questions for the administrator?
Madam President.
Nick?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead if you have a question for Nick.
Madam President, this is Louis Smith. I just had one other item to report to the board that concerning the Circle Pines Anoka County appeal.
Okay.
I just received notice that the oral argument will be set for April 27th. And the judges assigned to the case are Judges Ross, Cochran, and Frisch. We'll keep you posted on any further developments, but I know the district has an interest in the appeal.
Thank you. Okay, managers updates? Oh, go ahead.
Manager. Nick, a question about, have you been able to replace all the equipment from the burglary, and how is that proceeding?
Yes, President Priner, Manager Wynant, the district did a tally of all the equipment that was lost. We pulled out all our receipts associated with those purchases to demonstrate that we had purchased it, shared it with the insurance company, and we are replacing items in accordance with that list. So, and it's a little bit nuanced in that the insurance company wasn't simply going to cut us a check, if you will, for the total amount, but rather the replacement of those items. In a few cases, there's some equipment that we didn't foresee and a need for in our immediate future. And so those items, we just took the depreciated value on. And what comes to mind, I think there is a chainsaw that we didn't see an immediate future use for. And so we just took the money. So there have been a number of improvements to security on the site. I'll note that staff, along with staff's partner, came to the site and secured the door on the night that we had some of the break-ins. The landlord has subsequently put security metal plates that cover and prevent jimmying of the locking mechanism on the doors that come into the garage. We do have our cameras present there, and we are proceeding with communications with the management company. As I recall, they're out of Chicago, and working with our local maintenance individual to make sure that these electronic key cards and then what I call a realtor's access box, that makes readily available a way to get in, that those are all known and accounted for, and that we're really limiting the ability to access that space, or I should say we're confirming the limited ability to access that space. So our confidence in the space is improving. We're also looking at purchasing a locking cabinet, so these items aren't, immediately at disposal, and providing another line of defense, if you will, on some of these smaller items that could be readily moved. Our vehicles, that on a slightly different note, we had vehicles in the parking lot that were vandalized, tampered with, and tried to steal or remove items from them. We had those vehicles repaired. The cost wasn't insurmountable to the value of the vehicles, so we went ahead with that repair. Those vehicles now reside, 3 of them at Freeway Storage, which is the closest secured lot that provides for that type of storage of vehicles. Just surface lot, it's not heated or anything. They're out in the elements, but they are behind a fence, a secure fence with cameras and such. Staff are able to go there, leave their personal vehicle, and leave with the district's vehicle. So it's been convenient and functioning relatively well. I, in the moment, don't see that as the long-term solution. Hopefully we have something closer at hand, which would be a little bit better when we're back in the office and people are coming and going a little bit more frequently. So that would be my update.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Manager's update? Manager Waller.
Madam President, I attended the Washington County Consortium meeting this month, and there were 2 speakers there. One was Mr. Cameron Blake, with Communications and Project Assistant Technician for the Washington Conservation District. And the topic was stormwater best management practices. The most curious thing that I found out there, they've begun a program which here at Rice Creek, we're not involved with them, but they have contracts with others, government agencies or entities in Washington County. And they're beginning inspections of rain gardens and best management practices that have gone on, and see if they're being maintained. And so that was kind of a curious thing. I had never heard before of inspections for, like, if the school district had a program where they put something in, they'd go to that school district or the city of Woodbury and check on, make sure that these projects are being kept up. They're particularly rain gardens. They're afraid that there'd be non-invasive species growing in there and such. And so then who's responsible for that maintenance? And the second speaker there continued along that theme, was a Wetland Conservation Act and Bowser Rules programs update was conducted by Mr. Ben Meyer, the wetland specialist of the Board of Soil and Water Resources. And again, there was some talk in there about what the current program was and the inspections. And so I just bring that to you, that's a topic that people are looking at. Some action is taking place in southern Washington or eastern Washington County for the Soil and Water Conservation District in the different cities. And just a heads up to it, that's all I'm saying.
Madam President,
Go ahead.
Nick, am I right that you have our green intern kind of catalog all the BMPs in the system?
Yes, President Preiner, Manager Bradley, yes, that is correct. That's an excellent segue to Manager Waller's comment. So we are inventorying all the BMPs that we have. That's not to say that it wasn't, though that survey or data was marginally available through all of our permits, but this will be a more robust and in alignment with the MS4. The district in issuing a permit or its cost share looks for the longevity of those BMPs that are put into place. To Manager Waller's comment, we are associated with, I'm trying to think of the acronym, MRAP, which is the East Metro group. And so we look for consistent messaging and efforts across, and this BMP management. So the operation and maintenance, if you will, we've said you have this obligation, but we didn't necessarily provide the tools or the clarity, the education, if you will, of, well, how do you do that? What does that look like? Do you know what an invasive species is and this sort of thing? So we're developing those materials to share with those individuals that hold those obligations and make sure they have the tools to maintain them.
So, Madam President, just to add a little bit more, Washington County Conservation has actually hired someone to make this a full-time job of inspections and on a regular scheduled basis every so many years to take a look at once they have an inventory list. And so that's the news that came there, that this is the program is now developed into someone checking and doing the maintenance on these things, and so and requiring the maintenance on to be done. So be aware of that's a new program. And then of course the Bowser did talk about the wetland programs and credits in the state and general information like that. But I found that this concept of well, the fact that they hired an individual to do the inspections and reports and begin an enforcement program after these BMPs have been in place for a number of years, and then put that on a schedule of inspections, that was news to me.
Hey, Manager Winan.
Thank you. A couple things. Manager Bradley and I visited with the Ramsey County Commissioner that represent the watershed area last week. And actually, Manager Waller, one of the suggestions the commissioner had was that they get all the watersheds together and present to them. And Manager Bradley reminded, or at least informed them, that that's what happens in Washington County. So we may be working towards that goal. I also visited briefly with the Mounds View City Council on Monday night, just by way of hello, and we're still around. And Barb Hockey was on the line, and she sends greetings to all of you. And an observation I have is, I don't know if it's just because the last two meetings we've had now have been all about ditches / the watershed conveyance system, but I can imagine, Chris, as long as we're kind of poking around and looking at different ditch systems, that's also going to increase the workload for engineers, inspectors, staff. So, again, an observation, especially in the spring now, as snow is melting and water is flowing, we're going to get a lot of attention from the public. So a lot going on for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Manager Bradley.
Yes. Last year, the Bald Eagle Area Association partnered with Rice Creek to add additional matching funds for water quality programs, rain gardens and bank support. And they have announced that they're going to renew that program this year with an additional $15,000 of matching, trying to further those programs along. That's it.
Okay. Manager Wagaman. Manager Wagaman, update?
No, I have nothing.
Okay.
Today.
Very good. And all I have is to say that I attended the CAC meeting last week. Everybody is doing their job and they're very interested in our process. A lot of good discussion, you know, on both sides of these issues on the grants. So I'm encouraged by the makeup of our board, of our CAC right now. So that's all I have. Anybody like to entertain a motion?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? Manager Waller,
Yes.
Manager Wynant,
Yes.
Manager Bradley,
Yes.
Manager Wageman,
Yeah.
and Manager Priner, yes. Motion, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.